In today's complex environment, the provision of elite security is fundamental to public and corporate safety. Our next guest is a distinguished leader in this vital industry. As Chief Executive Officer of Man Commercial Protection, he's responsible for safeguarding some of the UK's most significant commercial enterprises and assets and some of the leading sporting events. The firm is renowned for its excellence, earning the trust of business leaders and some of the most influential sports promoters across the UK and worldwide. So, from the boardroom to the ringside, it's a great pleasure on behalf of Business Events Radio to welcome the Master of Security himself, Mr. Iain McCallister. Good afternoon, Iain.
Good afternoon, Tony. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Iain, before we discuss the impressive company you lead today, I'd love to go back, if you don't mind, to the beginning. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about your early years and especially your schooling? What were you like as a young man? And did you have any inkling then that you actually had that entrepreneurial skill set?
Well, it's quite interesting, really, because I went to school in Solihull. Our school that I went to was a very new school at the time, so it was a lot of supply teachers, and it was a difficult time at school, I thought, anyway, with the standard of the teaching. So I wasn't very good at the school with regards to 3 days that I went. But from my old joking, my thing with the school was I'm a great believer when it comes to academia in schools. They teach you things that you might never use in life, like the square roots and Pythagoras, but they don't teach you how to open a bank. They don't teach you how to sell. So in my whole family, aunties, uncles, brothers, cousins, nephews, mum, dad, I've never known anyone that's ever owned a business. So when I set our business up with my late father in 1993, we were the first people to do it in our family, and to get to the size where it is today is quite amazing, really.
Let's talk about your late father, who was very influential, I understand, in your life. An ex-policeman.
He was. So my dad was based in Solihull, although my mum and dad were both from Northern Ireland, and as you can hear from my Irish lilt, I was born in Northern Ireland, but I come over here as a very young child, a baby as such, and I've been in the West Midlands ever since. But my dad, he was a top man, and then when I was at school, I left school in 1982, which was famous obviously for the Falklands War. So I left in 82, and then working on doors. I was boxing, getting paid to do sparring all over the country, doing a lot of door work, learning security, personal and that. So in 1993, my dad had retired from the police after 30 years distinguished service, and he said, why don't we do something together? So we set a security company up in 1993. So throughout the whole of the West Midlands, it's the biggest privately owned security company ever.
What was the thinking behind your late father's inroad into security? Why not any other business?
A lot to do with myself, really, because I was boxing at a good level, sparring, doing the doors, and security was all I've ever known. And when I did leave school, 16, 17, I did about 6 months working in a butcher's shop, and very well-known butchers, Lashfords, have been around the Midlands since the 1800s. And I worked for them for 6 months, but I quickly realised that working on pubs and clubs and doing security and debt collecting and bailiff work and getting paid for the sparring, it was a lot easier ways to earn a living. And that the security has always been close to me. So from 17 now I'm 58, some 41 years, the security industry, that's why I'm proud, and that's why over the last few years winning awards like contribution to the industry, lifetime achievement from my peers and everything else means a lot.
Let's talk about the industry. We know it's heavily regulated. It's one of those, I'm very impressed. I've had a little tour around, and honestly, folks, if you are fly on the wall, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We've got anything from football memorabilia, boxing, we've got press passes, we've got show passes, we've got backdoor passes of various events. Now, people always say to me when I'm speaking to you, Iain, he's doing a lot of sporting events, but it's only a small percentage of your business.
Yeah, it's less than 5% of our turnover, but it's what 80% of people want to talk about, and it's been great for us. And it's like it was said to me many years ago, it's like a little bit of bread in the fish's mouth. It's like the hook. And I go to numerous meetings, even this week, where people talk. We did the big Wembley show only 3 weeks ago, Usyk and Dubois. We've been doing a lot of the Oasis shows. We've got Coldplay shows coming up. We've got a big festival on this week. But from our point of view, we do a lot of the music and sport. We do a lot of corporate work as well. But as I said, it'd be about 5% of our business. 90% of ours is the guarding and looking after sites, looking after people, looking after big blue chip companies, concierge, a lot of places that you'll pass and go in that we've had security on over the years.
And one of the biggest sectors is the asset industry. I mean, can you give some examples?
Yeah, so if you look at high-end concierge and building, we're always the directors of first impression, the people that you meet when you go there first. Distribution's been huge for us, so a lot of the parcel delivery companies, a lot of the big blue chips over the years, we looked after them. We've looked after so many different types of businesses. We looked after super yachts down in Poole, all the way up to oil refinery businesses in Aberdeen. Throughout London, we've looked after numerous big high-end blue chip companies and a lot of property management companies, shopping centres, entertainment centres. As I said, it took us 32 years to be an overnight success.
12,500 square foot, prime land here in the heart of Solihull. Yeah. Nothing to be sniffed at. It's taken a long time. It's cost a few quid as well.
Yeah. So one thing we've done over the years as invested in our people, but we've also invested in our properties. So we're very fortunate to own our head office. So as I said, 12,500 square foot. We've got a training academy here, 24-hour control room. All of our departments, so recruitment, vetting, screening, training, payroll, HR, is all in-house. So the beauty is that we get it sorted. We get audited all the time. One thing we're massive about as well is our audited accounts. So our year end is always 30th of September. By Christmas, first week of January, our accounts are at Company's House. That's how quick we have them done. Our CFO, she's been with me now 15 years. She works for the CFO Centre. Great partners of ours, done a lot of work with them over the years. So from our point of view, it's about working closely with people you trust, and that can come through your clients as well.
Would you say a lot of the development and the infrastructure has been, I suppose, a bygone era after 2020, after COVID?
Yeah, well, COVID for us, where a lot of people was slow for them, it increased for us. So we were very busy. So we're on a big business park here. We were the only company trading on the business park. And we had some young members of staff working for us, 17, 18-year-old, and they were the only person in their family working because our business was really busy. We had some big distribution places which were selling high-end goods. Overnight become masks and gowns and gloves, so it was very, very busy. Then a lot of the big parcel companies, the big companies that were delivering throughout the UK, they started getting 2025 numbers because everyone was working from home, so their deliveries were going up. We needed extra security, and then we was the rollout the vaccine as well was a big part of that. We had 14 different sites throughout the UK where we was assisting with the vaccine.
Somebody who didn't run a tuck shop but running a multi-million pound industry, if you don't mind me asking, what sort of numbers are we looking at?
So in staff, we employ over 1,500 staff, all PAYE. I've been trading now since 1993. Our current turnover is over 60 million. We've got strategic growth. Did a couple of interviews in the last 12 months. Sunday Times and some other Waking Up to Money on BBC Radio 5 Live, where I've talked about the 100 million turnover, which I'm keen to get to, not only with organic growth but with acquisitions as well. We work closely with M&A people and doing all our due diligence to try and get to the stage of acquiring companies to assist us with our growth.
And your governance, I was quite shell-shocked when I looked at it. I mean, everything just ticks every box. And of course your vehicles as well, all electrical.
Yeah, so we've done a lot with hybrids. We've got a lot of sites where they're full electric vehicles. For us, the ESG part, we've done it for years, and there's so many different parts of the business now where we're working closely. But yeah, ESG, as I said, we're head office, everything's brand new, so all the lighting, we make sure that everything is trying to work together with sustainability. We think it's key, and from our point of view, even old uniform, etc., we make sure that it's taken away and disposed, and made sure that we try our hardest to do the best we can.
You talk about being audited, but let's talk about the industry as well. As we know, it's very heavily regulated. One of the things that you actually strive towards, if my understanding is right, is staff retention and future growth and training.
Absolutely. So we opened a training academy in 2022, which was key to us, and something we're very proud of. And the training academy today, we've got access to be able to do all the training for our own staff, for new people into the industry, plus for clients. We've done local authority training here. We've used the training facility. We've done all the big Oasis shows this year. We had to do pit barrier training, which we had a full pit barrier put in for a period of time. We've done numerous different bits of training with first aid. We're so regulated, our industry, but the great thing about that, we can have officers. Our Employee of the Year last year was a gentleman who was working on a site, and he saved one of his colleagues who had cardiac issue on site, and he probably wouldn't have known how to save him prior to the training. And the unfortunate thing that happened at Manchester with the attack has then made sure every SIA licensed security officer in the UK now has to have first aid training as part of his top-up skills.
You've seen a very impressive growth and numerous accolades. I'm looking at right now, and it is absolutely it's an admiration into your hard work. But in a competitive market, what do you believe is the company's unique selling proposition that almost continues to attract and retain clients on a daily basis?
One of the biggest answers for that is that we are still privately owned. So a lot of the big companies, we sit in the UK top 20 security companies based on turnover. That's done by a company called Infolog. So we're based in the top 20. One of our biggest accolades is being privately owned. So we have a small decision-making cycle. We don't have to cut through layers of middle management, etc. And we don't have to get 4 people to sign a decision off. From our point of view, our USP, if I can, I do every single presentation, new clients, try my hardest to get around existing clients as well, and working closely. And I think leadership is a lot to do with leading from the front.
Can you share a recent case study or a project, if you're comfortable in doing that you're particularly proud of, one that truly exemplifies the values and capabilities of your team? Yeah,
so we've had numerous client wins over the last 12, 18 months, but one of my biggest things is retention of contracts and retaining, and we've had a couple of iconic buildings, certainly in London, that we retained, and you get people, when you're the incumbent, sometimes it's a bit more difficult at presentation stage because somebody else can come in and sell the dream, and not always is it the truth, but they can still try and sell the dream. But from an incumbent point of view, to retain a contract and winning a couple of the retaining them in London was massive for us, because everyone wants to work throughout the UK. We're very proud of being from the Midlands. The whole of the West Midlands, the East Midlands, been very, very strong for us over the years. But obviously to retain in London, to retain in the North is great, because that's why we are a national provider.
And how are you actually seen, or what's the perception of when it comes to the capital, dealing with a Brummie company, but of course great turnover, but of course you've got that experience, that 32 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of absolute excellence.
Yeah, well, we're dealing with national companies, you see. So some of the big property companies, they want the best fit. They want people they can rely on, people they can trust. And don't get me wrong, we get numerous London-based companies that come into the Midlands. So it's a lot smaller these days. Back in the day, I suppose, there was a lot of London-based companies that never come outside the M25, but now the way things are, they try and get all over. And then you've got some of the big FM companies that we come up against, and they try and sell every single product. We just sell security. From my point of view, my mindset has always been dig a hole and dig it deep.
I've got to be honest, when I was watching the Usyk fight and the Wembley, and there it was, man, a bit of a surreal moment when you look, oh crikey, I know him. What's that feeling like for you?
Yeah, it's funny, because even now people, when I started trading in 1993, in 1996 we started looking after a pop group, Ocean Colour Scene, and we did a lot with them. They're a great band, great lads, and everything else. That led to working with Oasis, led to working, supporting the Rolling Stones, supporting the Who. Also in 1996 1996, we started working back with Frank Warren. And the great thing working with Frank then is from 1996, we did some big shows in 1998. Then we had Mike Tyson come to the UK in 2000, all the way through to now. So we worked with Frank now for over 27 years. So working closely, obviously we did the Dubois and Usyk fight at Wembley 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was great and great feedback and everything else. But it is funny when people say, "Oh, I've seen you with the Usyk or Dubois or whatever," because at the end of the day, I've been doing it now for 27 years. But the great thing is, as I said, it's great for the brand. My thing with all them big shows, it's all about relief, making sure everything's okay and then just hand it over. And as I said, in the last 20 months, we've been out to Saudi 8 times as well.
Let's talk about Saudi. Let's talk about the Golden Sands and how things are actually changing. But more importantly, you're obviously with your connection with Frank. Can I ask you, do you have that same relationship with Eddie Hearn?
No, we don't have much of a we have zero working relation with Eddie. I went to a dinner probably 12 months ago where his dad Barry was the guest of honour at the Grand, and I've known Barry previously from work. He's a good guy. Eddie's a good guy, very good orator, and now he's become friends with Frank, so it's all good. But now my relationship, my loyalty has always been, as I said, 27 years with Frank, and over that time we've had some big stars that we looked after through Frank, with Kawasaki and Hatton and Bruno and all that. So now, obviously with Usyk and Fury and all that around now, it makes it a great time for British boxing.
So what's that golden connection? Just to get my mind right then with Frank. I mean, is it more than just business? Is it friend?
Yeah, he's a friendship. He's a good guy, Frank. And as I said, real respect to him, and watching him doing his meetings and presentations and always his press conferences, excellent at what he does. Great memory, great passion, great drive. And as I said, bumpy roads over the years, but he's great to deal with. And at the end of the day, excellent. And like, you can learn a lot from people like that, because it is massively important to watch and, as I said, take on board how other people conduct themselves.
Are you actually quite surprised about the interest from the Middle East when it comes to the world of boxing?
Yeah, well, it's been shown over the years that with the Arabs and with the Saudis and that, they have different. That's why Ronaldo's playing football there. That's why Ronnie O'Sullivan's playing snooker there. That's why they've had lots of interest in the past. Turki Al-Sheikh, he's a big boxing fan. He's very well knowledgeable about boxing. I've seen him interviewed where he talks about the history of boxing all the way back to the Ali and Frazier days. So he's a boxing fan.
Wow.
So he's not just somebody that's jumped on boxing, he is a boxing fan. And what he always wanted to do was put the big fights together. So obviously we did the 2 Fury Usyk fights in Saudi. We did some of the other shows as well. But yeah, and while they're involved with the Saudis, while they're getting involved, it's obviously good for the boxers. They're getting paid, going to Saudi. But we've also done Riyadh season shows in the UK as well. So it's worked out well.
Now, looking at the evolution of combat sports, mixed martial arts, MMA and the UFC have seen also explosive growth in the Middle East. Are there any plans for Man Commercial to expand its expertise into the world of MMA? And have you actually considered, I think more to the point, steps to putting that phone call to Dana White?
Yeah, it was funny. I remember seeing Dana White years ago at the hotel in Birmingham. He was stopping there. They'd got a show on, Hotel de Van. He come out the lift, and I remember seeing Dana. Obviously Dana and all the UFC's American based. Come across a few. We did a few of the early UFC shows in London and in Birmingham. I remember we did a Bisbing show in Birmingham. UFC's great, but boxing for us really. And as I said, the thing with boxing, we've done it for a long time, we understand it. When people watch a show on the night time, they will see the fighters in the ring. It's understanding. If you look at the big Wembley show we did last week, prior to that we had 5 press days all the way up, so they've got to be sorted, and weigh-ins and press conference, etc. And then on that show day, you might turn around on a big show and say, you see the main event, ring walk at 10 o'clock, whereas we'll have been there since 10 a.m. making sure all the planning's done. We do show stop meetings, we do all the different behind the scenes to make sure everything's worked.
You're a big fella. Let's just remind ourselves of that dark October night in 1993 when I wasn't let into Liberties, but that's a long story. I'm not going to let you leave that down, Iain. You're very approachable as a CEO, I've got to be honest, and I speak to a lot of people. And you keep certain things to your chest, but when the questions are normally asked about what's the end game, there's only one answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I showed you earlier in my boardroom next door, I've got a big sign and it says there is no end game. I've never ever looked at the end. My whole thing is about continual growth. I'm speaking with salespeople next week. I'm talking with companies with M&A next week. I'm talking about continued growth. I never look at the end. I've said it, and I've said it on other podcasts. It's all about the buzz of the deal.
Looking slightly ahead, 5 to 10 years, I know you don't have a crystal ball there, but what are the most significant trends you anticipate that will actually reshape the UK's commercial security sector?
AI. And a lot of people talk about AI, and a lot of people, I get asked this a lot, do they think it will reduce numbers? I always say the same thing. If you go to an airport, you go to Birmingham Airport today, you will see more technology, you will see more screening, you will see more searching, you'll see where you have to put your hands out to the side or your bag searches. But the one thing you will see is more people. So I think it could work hand in hand. I don't think we're even close to 20-30% of AI and what it can do. So from my point of view, I don't think it will continually get rid of people. I think it will work hand in hand, and it will be like from man to machine. And I think the key to it is understanding what it can do, and then just keep moving forward.
One of the things with machines, as we know, also in the security industry, is facial recognition. Now, a big part of your portfolio is also CCTV training.
Yeah, and to be fair, even going back many, many years, we had facial recognition, we had eyeball recognition, we had thumbprint recognition. So all that isn't something that new to us. So we do CCTV training here. We've looked after some big CCTV control rooms in the Midlands, and we're proud of those. We've had some great work that's been done. This year we had 2 officers who won awards because they'd tracked down people who were involved when a young man got stabbed to death, and it ended up with convictions where combined it was over 120 years that the culprits got caught for on the work of our CCTV operatives. But we've also got other CCTV control rooms. We've got our own 24-hour control room here at Man Commercial Protection that deals with hundreds, if not thousands, of calls a day, and that can be, as I said, with 24/7.
It's a big core of the business, isn't it? But let's talk about staff retention, but more importantly, the youth, and more importantly, new talent that's seeping through. How important is that for you?
Massively. We've had it so many times where we've had office junior type roles where people have started. I can think of 2 or 3 currently, and they've started off at the lowest part of the team and then worked their way up, and then they've quickly become team leaders and then heads of departments. I can think of that in HR, I can think of that in payroll, I can think of that in finance. And the great thing is, it's funny because sometimes it makes you feel old, because some of the young ones that start, all of a sudden they start and they come on 2 buses and they come to work and they're great and they get picked up by the mum or the dad, and then all of a sudden roll it on, and then all of a sudden they're going on maternity and all of a sudden they're heads of departments, and I don't know, it makes us feel old anyway. But the great thing and the key to it is I love to see people grow, and then when they say to me, oh, I've got a new house or I'm getting married, and I think it's great.
Well, you're growing graciously, but the yearn for business and acquisitions, I don't think that's on the back burner for you at the moment. So when it comes to going out with a checkbook, is that still very much at the forefront? Yeah,
acquisitions are key for us, and I've got a great CFO, and we've done a lot of due diligence. We've looked at a couple of companies in the last 2-3 years. It hasn't quite happened for one reason or another, but we've made it very known to our industry, we've made it known to our business, our banks, etc. It's something that we're keen to do, and as I said, we've been able to demonstrate that we can win new contracts. We've been able to demonstrate that we can keep moving forward. So from our point of view, it's about the continual growth. I'd never ever want to be in the position where I think, this is it.
I know when we come to the final question about your end game, there is no end game because you want to continue. But let's be realistic. Let's talk about the legacy, because you're a family man at the end of the day as well. Will the baton be passed on to?
Well, currently none of the kids are involved in the business. My daughter-in-law works. She's a great part of the business. She's director of people and communications, but not the kids. And it's one of them. It's a tough business, and from my point of view, there is no end game. My wife works closely in the business. She's head of HR, does all my payroll, so she's a big part of it, dealing with that side of the business. But I just look at the moment, I look at the time, and I don't think too much about the future. I look as it is now and trying to enjoy it and keep moving forward. And everyone has challenges and everyone has different things, but it's about that continual growth and working closely with your team. I've always had a great senior leadership team. We're looking at different stuff. Had a big management meeting here last week, 24 people were there, and going through all the different points and things that we're rolling out and looking at, and I think it's great.
You go to a lot of black tie events. Have you gone to one recently where, or maybe something that you've come across over the last sort of few months where you thought, oh hello, I like that bloke, or I like that lass, she'll be good for my company. Do you have a good eye for entrepreneurs and workers?
I think so, and I'm always keen to listen. As I say, I do a lot of the after dinner talks myself, and I do a lot of the radios in the mornings, and I do different bits and pieces. But yeah, I'm always keen to listen to people. I love to hear people's journeys. I love to hear what makes them tick. I like to hear, and I think sometimes it's great to hear when people are doing well, but it's interesting to see how they respond when they're not doing so well. And I love to see that people are building their businesses. I do numerous different round table with other business leaders and getting a little bit of flavour of what their thoughts are.
Well, if anyone has put Birmingham on the map, it's you, Ian, because unfortunately we do actually have a bit of a trait, don't we, up in the down the south for being more who we are. But I think we're great people, and I think when I first met you, the podcast wouldn't be the podcast if we didn't mention Ninder Johal.
No, he's great, isn't he, Ninder? And I was privileged to do his Natural Awards at the King Power Stadium. A great guy, and I think with somebody like Ninder. In business, you need more Ninders really, because they're working hard, they're working tirelessly to get the name out there of business. They're very interesting when they talk about how they do their work and getting to know people. And the great thing with Ninder, he speaks to all different types of businesses, so he's learning all the time. But yeah, good guy and a great setup. So
it's going to be a toss of the coin to have Ian the Brummie or Ninder from Black or Warsaw. He won't mind me saying that. But finally, though, very quickly then, Ian, for aspiring business leaders and entrepreneurs listening and watching this podcast, what's the single most important piece of advice you would actually offer to anyone who's embarking on their own journey as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a businessman and woman?
One of the most asked questions I get, and the answer is always the same, which is discipline. So many people enter into business, and I think Gordon Ramsay said a couple of years ago, 85% of new restaurants go bump within 2 years, and it's not reading the room right. And I think the key with business is you've got to take educated gambles. You've got to 100% be in the position where you surround yourself with the best possible people. So many people get to a certain size, whether it's £1 million turnover, and they think they're Alan Sugar, when in fact that's when they should be able to go again and go again and go again. But as I said, you've got to work hard. I think in the last 28 years I've had one day off sick, and from that point of view it's more a case of being focused every single morning, whether it's good times, bad times, whatever. Roll out of bed, so what can we do today, and lead it from the front. But yeah, I think anyone that has a go is a great thing, and I think good luck to them, and I think they've just got to work hard, but the discipline of doing it repetitive.
And failure is always an option as well, isn't it? It's always going to come, it's always going to go.
Absolutely.
And to crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, never give up, I think Churchill said. And the thing is, the top and tail of it is, I think even some of them dragons, when they first started, the first couple of businesses didn't work out, and then they kept going, and it's better. The worst decision ever in business is indecision. So the top and tail of it is, and sometimes people listen too much to others at the end of the day. Never take criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from.
You're a very passionate man, but they often do say down there's an analogy behind every good man is a good woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I believe that. Yeah. My wife, she's great, and she's a big part of the business. And as I said, I say it all the time, man. Everyone thinks man obviously means men, but man stands for the original directors, which were McCallister, Atkins, and Neighbour, which were the name of the partners when we started in 1993. But a high part of our business, certainly at head office and the senior leadership team, is the girls.
Iain McCallister, Chief Executive Officer of Man Commercial Protection. What a privilege it has been to be speaking to you so openly and candidly on behalf of Business Events Radio.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.